go to the context, my country, Nepal, is a demographically young country. So over 60% of our population is under the age of 30 years old. But for decades and decades, almost from 4 to 5 decades, we have seen the political actors rotating power among themselves, only in their own parties. So while growing up, we have the youth of Nepal, they have seen the same faces and then the same promises, and then yet again the same disappointments again and again and again. And we have grown with these political scandals, instability, and then economic stagnation. And what is the result? The result is that every day, almost 1,500 Nepali laborers and over 3,000 Nepali students fly abroad just to seek for a better life. So this is the frustration of Nepali youth. But now we are seeing something different. We are seeing that this frustration is leading into action. It's turning into action. And this frustration comes from the notion of the old leaders, the old faces. But the term old here does not simply refer to the age of the leaders, but also the face or the mindset, the political mindset, a political culture that clings to power and without delivering the results, and the mindset where the political parties, they make the politics in the country like a private club rather than a public service. So this growing frustration among the Nepali youth, it culminated into a powerful rallying cry called "No, Not Again." And this slogan, "No, Not Again," it spread like wildfire before the 2022 elections in Nepal, where the youth, they urged the voters, all the voters, not to bring back the same old faces, like not to vote for the same old politicians. And then during that election, there was a turning point. In Kathmandu, the capital city of Nepal, a young rapper who turned into who was a structural engineer as well, career-wise, named Balinsa, he ran for mayor. He was an independent youth. He did not have any major political backing, no political dynasty. He just had a clear vision on how I can change this city. And guess what? He won. He won by a landslide. And suddenly, people saw that the capital of Nepal, in the capital of Nepal, an independent youth without any political backing could win an election. And what happened next? Throughout the country, across the country, we saw a few such young leaders run in the elections, and some of them were elected as well. They won the elections. So what was the result? What happened after that? Suddenly we saw that work was being done across the country. They were laying down water pipelines. They were cleaning up the streets. The waste was being collected in time. And suddenly the streets of Kathmandu, which were filthy with a lot of garbage thrown on the roads, they were clean, well managed, and they looked beautiful. So suddenly the governance that we see, it was not some faraway idea. It was not an intangible thing. It was visible. It was tangible, and this was being led by young people throughout Nepal.
Okay, wow, that's interesting. I don't know where to start from because I'm really now interested to hear more about Nepal. And I like the fact that you say that when the youth now began to take charge, the governance now was no longer like an abstract thing. It was now becoming tangible. You could see change. You could actually see that things are happening around. I would like to know, because you mentioned that in Nepal, you keep seeing the same faces all over and over again. What is the party structure? in Nepal? Are you a one-party system or are you a multi-party system? What is the party structure in Nepal?
Okay, so the political system in Nepal is a multi-party democracy. We have a lot of political parties, way over 15 to 20 political parties. There are more, even more. But Nepal has seen only 3 major political parties who rotate the power among themselves. And it is from these 3 political parties that we have seen the leaders over the past 30, 40, even like 50 years. We have seen the same political faces from these 3 political parties. But now some young people are also coming into power from new political parties, and I'll go into that again.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. And you mentioned that there is like a protest, and no, not again.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like to know, what led to that? What led to that type of shift and that type of movement in Nepal?
Okay, so it's an interesting question. The movements like No Not Again did not come out of nowhere. It was built on the foundation of youth-led activism throughout the decade. The youth in Nepal had been giving political pressure, public pressure, and they have been very involved in youth-led activisms for over the decade. I want to take you back in 2012 when young activists in Nepal they organized a powerful protest outside the Prime Minister's residence in Kathmandu, and then they were demanding justice for women affected by gender-based violence, most notably rape victims in Nepal. And this was one of the first sustained movements which directly challenged the impunity in Nepal's political system. They wanted to hold the politicians accountable for their actions and what's happening in Nepal. And fast forward to 2020, during the height of COVID-19 pandemic, a new generation, they organized a nationwide protests called Enough is Enough. So this movement was, first it started online, but it quickly moved into the streets, and they demanded transparency on pandemic spending and a better access to healthcare and a truthful communication from the government.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned that youth have been protesting in Nepal. I think this is widely seen in most of the nations, whereby we see the action that youth are taking nowadays has always been like going to the streets, going to protest. So what other actions are youth in Nepal taking beyond just protesting to drive change in Nepal?
That's a great question, Viti. So we have seen a shift in this kind of action that the youth have been taking. So as I said, like a decade earlier, all the youth in Nepal were only they were constrained to protest. They only went and protested. They just made their voices heard. But for this, like throughout these decades, or even should I say past 2 decades, we felt that our voices, the voices of the youth, were not being heard. So suddenly, the biggest shift is that the youth were no longer content with just standing outside with slogan outside the gates. Now they are stepping through these gates. So they are actively running for office. They are creating new political platforms. They are organizing local campaigns and even running for mayors and other policy making roles. So a notable example of this has been the RSP, Rashtriya Swatantrata Party, that came to that was born in 2022, just a few months before the general elections. A new youth-led party led by Ravi Lamichhane, who was a former TV journalist and also a youth in Nepal. He started this political party just a mere a few months before the general elections. So you might think, okay, a political party, new political party was born just 3 or 4 months before local elections, right? So how did they do in the elections? Well, let me tell you, this new political party, youth-led political party, they secured an astounding number of votes throughout the country, and then they became the 4th largest political party of Nepal. Unfortunately, they were not able to beat the 3 major political parties that I talked about, but still there we saw these things that people were willing for a new face. So they were willing to vote for a new party, new face. So this is a clear sign that the youth in Nepal, they are no longer waiting for permission. They are carving out their own space, and they want to be taken seriously.
Okay, wow, that's, I'm sure I heard some voices are like in the background. Wow, that's really interesting to hear. You say they just came in, the party just started like a few months before the elections, but to see that in a system where there is predominance of certain political parties,
yes,
you find that a party comes in a few months and already they are the number 4,
yes,
and that is being a youth-led party. I do believe there is hope for youth in governance in Nepal, because this is very motivating to see, like from nowhere now they become the 4th largest party. So what more as the years are going? I do believe the youth in Nepal, we are going to leave Nepal one day. So because of time, there's so much to share about Nepal, but can you just please share with me the challenges in Nepal that the youth in governance are facing, and your closing remarks together?
Okay. So in Nepal, this journey of the youth creating a new political space and governance, it does not come without obstacles. Of course, it has its obstacles, and we have seen over the years that these young leaders, they have been faced with internal resistance, also resistance from the old political parties. We have seen that they have been a victim of political sabotage, and they, of course, they have a limited financial resources. They have to run elections with the parties that have been established for decades now, and they don't have enough financial resources to run against them. But these are all just challenges. We have to see beyond these challenges. We have to see the opportunities, and the youth in Nepal, or even all the citizens in Nepal, they saw that in this past election, that they saw that a young leader with a clear vision and a mission can come and run against these established political parties, and they can win. So now we are just waiting for another election where possibly we can turn this 4th largest party into maybe the first one, or even we are hoping for a new youth-led political parties, more youth-led political parties to come forward and win. To close, I want to say that to me, what's happening in Nepal right now, it's not just a political shift, it's a cultural one. And it's a new generation that have been saying that we do not want hierarchy, but without accountability. And we do not want a rhetoric without results. We want results. And this moment in Nepal's youth politics, it's a proof of concept that when young people come together, not just to protest, but to organize, to vote, and to lead, they can reshape entire political systems. And maybe that's the lesson we can carry with us across the global south. We the youth are not just next in line. So we have to be the ones that redefine the line. And thank you. And I'm really looking forward to hearing Clinton's perspective from Africa and like Kenya, to be specific.
All right, thank you so much. Indeed, the youth, we are not next in line. We now have to begin the line. Thank you so much. I really found that very interesting. And that the youth in Nepal for so long, you mentioned that they were taught to wait for their time. But you know, the thing about waiting for time never really comes. So you have to create time.